that's kind of smart, you know.
It's free publicity for you anyway. Ultimately, the album's going to come out.
That's true, but the thing is that there's been so much controversy about how bad the record sounds, you know, and how lo-fi it is. And to hear it like that compared to all the other songs that were on the radio that night, it really disgusted me, and it pissed me off because it sounded terrible. It sounded really, really bad. And then everyone that heard it that weekend is going to say, yeah, you're right. Okay, the stories are true. Then the Ron album really sucks, and I'm not going to buy it, you know. So it just kind of bothered me, but we took care of it.
What'd you do?
Well, I thought maybe we should hire a lawyer to stop them to do it. Then instead, I just decided to hire a hitman.
Pardon me?
Nothing. Erase that. No, we just called them up on Monday and told them to stop.
And they went, oh, okay.
Well, our lawyer did that.
Isn't that a weird world for you to suddenly have lawyers and like people who do stuff like that for you?
Yeah. It's totally unnecessary too. If we weren't in this position, we wouldn't need lawyers, you know. It's total unnecessary, and we have to spend a lot of money just to protect ourselves all the time, and it's just stupid.
When did that first hit you? When did you realize that you're going to need some people on your team to protect you from the vultures?
Too late. You know, much after the fact, after we'd already been damaged to a point where it, you know, almost didn't do any good, you know. But I don't know, it was just a weird realization one day, you know. Wow, I have to, you know, and I can see how like rock and roll stars will all of a sudden, will almost compromise their music to make sure that they sell the same amount of records next year because they've spent all their money on lawyers and protecting themselves last year, you know. But I mean, we obviously haven't done that. I mean, I don't know, maybe you might not have noticed, but the record isn't as commercial as the last one, so we could never bring ourselves to do that, you know. I'd rather just laugh about it. And
Frank, how did the Mothers of Invention come about?
You mean the name? Because the record company refused to have a group on the label called the Mothers. They had talked to some people with marketing expertise and had ascertained that the American public would refuse to deal with a group called the Mothers. So I had to add of invention on the end of it, otherwise they wouldn't give us a record contract.
Can you describe the rock scene in LA in the 60s, 70s, and then what you think of it today in the 80s?
In the 60s, the rock scene in Los Angeles was kind of interesting. The sociology of it is kind of strange. Everybody was more interested in dressing up than playing music, so you had rampant costumery all over the place. And the only type of music that was successful in Los Angeles during the 60s was folk rock. Everything that was Byrds derived, or derived from a group called Love, which was also a big group in LA at the time. There was literally no market for anything with a blues bass influence. It was all this flower power stupidity. And then into the 70s, it got vague. The scene in Los Angeles dissipated, so there wasn't really any focus to it. It was just a major record manufacturing center, and anything that you could stick on a record that would sell is what people came to Los Angeles to do. And the 80s is an extension of that. Somebody figured out that because you could dress in a different costume and do punk music, they could have a punk scene in Los Angeles. So that developed, and you had people coming from all over the country who could probably play an instrument before they got there, but as soon as they got to Los Angeles, they forgot all of their chops, made themselves as ugly as possible, figuring that was the best way to get a record contract. And that's the way it is.
Do you think that music today, not just in LA, rock and roll music in general, is more formula than it was, say, in the 60s?
Absolutely.
Do you think there's any feeling left in
I mean,
music
you here
today?
on MTV, you should know about formula music. Come on.
Here, let's go into another question. What do you think about music video in general?
Well, first of all, it's a bad deal for the artist because record companies expect the artist to pay for the video itself. A video with class costs about $150,000. An entire album costs $150,000. That's 30 minutes of music roughly for $150,000 that you can listen to, or 4 minutes of stuff that you can watch for $150,000. The artist is expected to pay for that out of his potential royalties or out of cash out of his own pocket. This video, after it is manufactured, is then sent to places like MTV, MTV puts it on the air, charges advertisers time. They make a profit from selling commercial time. This money does not go to the artist. The artist is supposed to take the risk and take the flyer on this thing to promote his record with a video, and the video outlets receive all of their programming material free of charge. This is not a good deal for the artist, and it's something that should be corrected. Aside from that, videos saturate very quickly. You can look at a video 6 times, and even if it's a fabulous video, you've seen everything that's in there, and you don't need to see it again. You're waiting for the next video that has the girl getting out of the car, midgets, chains, stuff in the ear, stuff in the face, you know, weird hair, clothes, light coming at a weird angle, zippers. You've seen it, and you're ready for the next one. A record that relates to something that you feel inside, you can listen to hundreds of times, and it means something to your life. Videos are disposable. They're as disposable as television commercials. In fact, that's what they are. They're 4-minute television commercials for albums. And when you consider that a record company makes the bulk of the profit on a record, the artist does not. And you have a modern situation where the artist is being asked to not only bankroll the video and the income of the station that plays the video, he's also bankrolling the record company. This stinks.
Ooh. Did you ever do anything about it?
Not yet.
It's so hard not to laugh.
Go ahead and laugh. What's the difference? See what MTV does to you? You can't laugh. You have to sit there and take this stuff seriously. Give yourself and the audience a break. Would you? I mean, are we to assume that MTV really is an extension of the Warner Brothers mentality? It is, isn't it? Come on, be honest. It's that corporate Warner Brothers, come on, we're sort of out there in the valley kind of mentality, isn't it?
There's no doubt about it.
I know it.
They may call it rock and roll, but it's corporate America.
That's right. It's push the button, pull the chain, out comes the little brown choo-choo train.
Do you think, Frank, that most artists are just afraid to stretch themselves musically, afraid to take any sort of a chance at all?
Well, MTV is helping with that syndrome because all video outlets, and that's basically the focus of the music business today, is whether or not what you do is video acceptable. Let's look at it realistically. If a person likes music, that is not enough in the 80s. You can like music and you can play music. You can sing, you can dance, you can have all these things going for you, but you're not even going to get to first base unless you have science fiction hair and diagonal zippers on your clothes. Forget it. You go to a record company to make a deal, and the first thing they're going to do is look at your publicity picture. If they don't like that, they won't even listen to the tape. In fact, they don't even care about the tape because they can always get Trevor Horn to fix it. And so after Trevor has fixed it and they've approved your publicity photo, then you get the video treatment, and everything gets formulated according to the Warner Brothers aesthetic. It goes on to MTV, and it goes on to any other competitor that hasn't been bought by MTV yet. And the group gets exactly one chance to do one thing. And their musical lifespan is in direct proportion to the interest that the audience has in the way they look. Because the whole thing is based on a visual merchandising. So what happened to music?
What do you think it'll take to get us back to a point where music is music and experimental and people are willing to take chances?
Well, it's not going to happen.
Really?
Yeah,
that's sad.
Well,
that's a frightening thought.
Tough tuckus. The damage has been done. And unless somebody realizes, and it has to be admitted and it has to be advertised and supported on this medium, that what you are seeing on MTV is merely advertising for product, which was designed as product, not as music, only as product. The song is written so it's a visual song. A guy sits down and he figures it out. How many midgets can we get in here? How many girls? How many lip close-ups? When do you take the glasses off and the water comes out of your face? You know, you figure it all out, and then that's your product. And that is not writing a piece of music.
Do you think that people who are entering the music business today are more concerned about being rock and roll stars than musicians? Do you think that's part of the problem?
Well, that's not part of the problem. That's the way the world really is. There's very few people who ever went into pop music who did it because they went into it as an art form. They did it because they wanted to be a star. There was a strong desire to be famous, to be rich, to have all the cocaine you want to stick up your nose, have a chainsaw to chop up your hotel room, and naked girls running around with, you know, leather things with points on their wrist and stuff. That's what everybody wants, you know? And they should have that. They should just get it out of my face. But they should have as much of it as they want. That's got nothing to do with music.
It's sad to think what the state of rock and roll will be in 20 years from now. It just seems like when rock and roll's dead, the whole world's gonna explode, you know? And it's already so rehashed and so plagiarized that it's barely alive now, you know? It's disgusting. I mean, kids really don't even care about rock and roll as much as they used to, as the other generations have. It's already turned into nothing but a fashion statement and an identity for kids to use as a tool for them to fuck and have a social life. And at that point, I really can't see music being of any importance to a teenager, really. I think they'll use sounds and tones and use it in their virtual reality machines and just listen to it that way and get the same emotions from it, and then go to a party. There'll be a virtual reality machine there with a whole bunch of headphones, and if you want to talk to people and listen to the virtual reality machine, you can do that, and go into the other bedroom and fuck and drink. But actually, I think virtual reality machines will actually get you high. Technology will be that good. And then there'll be like virtual reality junkies, finding them dead on their couch from Odin.